Welcome to the Life's Best Medicine podcast, where we are finding hope and healing one episode at a time. No appointment needed, no rubber gloves, and no coping. Just a healthy dose of life lessons to help equip you for this wild journey we call life. Hey everyone, we made it to October. We're almost done with this year again, believe it or not. And just wanted to give a shout out to Simply Snackin'. Thank you for your support this year. Thank you for bringing these stories to people and for having a great product, a product that I can believe in, that I can recommend, and that I enjoy. Have to hide from my kids so they don't eat them all. So I have a special stash in the garage, but don't tell my kids. But they'd listen to the podcast, so I might be in trouble now. But anyways, Simply Snackin', thank you for all you do. And these stories are life-changing, really. These next two episodes are so impactful, and I think it's really can be life-changing and life-saving for people. So a lot of us have given up hope. And so Simply Snackin', thank you for making this possible. And everyone, please enjoy this episode. And I think I would have a Kleenex or two around for the next couple episodes. That's just my recommendation as a doctor. It's not medical advice, but I recommend it. So, but thank you for listening. This is really, really powerful stuff. And this is why I did the podcast. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome back to the Life's Best Medicine podcast. Today, I have a special person who's been a light on Twitter. Like Twitter, so many days I go on there and go, I just don't want to deal with it. It's all negativity and bad news, and I don't want to deal with arguing with people and all that. Jen Martin, welcome.
Hi.
It's so good to have you. And, your story, tell people your story, like maybe just going back to as a kid, struggling with weight, whatever your life was like to get you to, because you've accomplished awesome stuff. But the thing that caught my attention, besides your great story, was that you're just so kind and uplifting and always supportive of this podcast and me and what I'm doing. And so it's good to have you. I'm glad you can squeeze out some time and join me.
Well, thank you. It's an honor. I want to say about Twitter really quick. I was on there for years. I hated it. And then once I found your podcast, like I deleted most of the people and companies I follow. And now I follow most of the people that have been on your podcast, and it's completely changed. So I don't mind going on there now. So
yeah, and that's what I do too. As I don't really, I mean, there's a lot of arrogance, a lot of stuff. I don't really I can mute all that stuff. But you're right. There's a lot of people I go. A lot of people that I've had on the podcast, and that's why I've had them on the podcast, because they're a light in the darkness. And it's like, I want those people. It's amazing. You see some people that are jerks all the time on Twitter, and they have the most followers of anyone. You think, why do people like that? And when you talk positive and negative, and me, I mean, I get in trouble for saying, hey, have hope and faith, and then people get upset. So I was like, well, there's got to be more people than that. My followers have gone up, by the way, since I said, you know what, I'm just going to talk about good stuff. And I lost a lot of followers at the beginning. And then, now the good people like you are following, because they see you want to be uplifted. You want to hear something, stories like yours that are going to benefit people,
Yeah, we would be lost without hope and without faith. You just have to have it and love, and whenever there's any negativity or, heartache in life, you have to look for the love. You have to find the love somewhere. It's always there. It's just whether you see it or not. But yeah, I don't even know where to begin, but my journey, my earliest memories are all around ice cream and candy. And that's kind of my identity. Like we have a bit of property and we have barns, and I have big Dairy Queen logos, like lights on our barns. Like we're known as the Dairy Queen house. So it's like, that's who I am. And now I've totally reversed that and changed that. And I don't even have a desire for it anymore, which is just crazy. But I'm kind of going through like that kind of identity crisis. Like, am I like the state girl type of thing? But yeah, after I had our son, he's 17 now, he's almost 18. After I had him, at the time when I had him, I gained quite a bit of weight, and I ended up having, I had pneumonia and then congestive heart failure when I had him. So it was really traumatic. Wow. And after that, I just kind of said, well, I have my baby. I don't need to worry about, like my body did its job. Now I can just do whatever. And so I did not do anything to take care of myself, just going through the motions. And then when my son was 4, my dad passed away in a single car auto accident. So it was obviously very traumatic. It was like less than 2 miles from our house. So long story, but the troopers came over because the neighbors told them I live right by my parents. So they came over and notified me, and obviously that my life changed that day. And so as much as I didn't take care of myself before then, that just took it to the next level. I just didn't care. I did not, like I lived on Laffy Taffy for like almost a year.
Yeah, because that was your comfort. That was your peace, right? You found
my gosh. Yeah. I couldn't focus on anything. And
how did you become the Dairy Queen house? Like you guys just eat there all the time and you love it?
Oh my gosh. Well, that it goes back to my dad. So like he used to obviously give me ice cream all the time. That was like the comfort thing. If he would let us watch scary movies and that kind of thing. And then, I have a little sister, and, so to comfort us, we get ice cream or whatever. So it's funny too. Like this is how naive I am. It took me until adulthood to realize every time I got a peanut butter parfait and left it in the freezer, like he'd always tell me the next day, oh, it fell out and the dog got it.
Oh, because he was he was always he was the culprit, right?
Right. It was like I finally realized, oh, duh, like, Dad, did you eat those?
And it sounds like you had a really close relationship with your dad, and
yeah,
he was kind of a
it was definitely definitely close with him. And actually our son is born on his birthday, so so that was really cool too. His first grandbaby. And so after he passed away, one of my coping mechanisms was online auctions. So I found this big giant sign, and I asked my husband, I'm like, if we win it, can we go get it? He's like, sure. Well, we're in like near Cleveland, and this was in Kansas City. So I won it. We drove out to Kansas City for a weekend. And then finally, once we got it installed on the barn, I always said, like, this is my beacon to heaven. Like, so my dad knows.
Oh yeah, so he knows you're at, and that's your connection with dad. So that's kind of that's kind of a big thing, right?
Yeah. So it's hard. It's to lose someone like that. And I have a little sister and my mom. So my mom's right across the street from me. So she's, we see her all the time, which is good that, we're so close by. But, for a good, I don't know, 1.5 years, 2 years after he passed, I was just out of control. And then I don't even know, like I just got really sick, and I had blood work done. And then my doctor sent me to a hematologist, and my iron had completely tanked. I was having all kinds of issues with that. And so she had told me, like, if you get, iron treatments, then you'll have more energy. And so I was like, okay, awesome. And went through all these treatments. Like I went through like two rounds of like nine things each. And I didn't feel any better. I was like, well, this doctor's a liar, like I want to feel good. So finally I started doing the eat less, move more.
Yeah.
And it worked. So I started running. I got connected with this group online that people from all over the country. And we actually would get together every year in Pittsburgh and do a 5K. Like it was a really good community, and it really, really helped me. And that was like, I think 10, 11 years ago. And there's still people from that group I still
cool.
talk to. So it's been really cool. And so when I lost that amount of weight, like I lost a bit, and then at church, they let me lead a group. It's like a weight loss / Bible study group. So we had a group of maybe about 15 women. And I want to say I did it for like 2 years, like 2 school years. And it was awesome. Like, you know, we would meet every week, just connect, we'd pray, we'd have accountability partners, and it went really, really well. But then things changed. You know, there was change in leadership at our church, and, you know, it got messy. And so we ended up leaving the church. And I've been a lifelong
member that you grew up and all that.
Yeah. Like I went all through Lutheran schools, like, you know, and so for me to like walk away was really hard.
Yeah, because you lose your identity again, you know, changing denominations or churches. Yeah, that's kind of and
it's family.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly. Yeah. That's your social support and all that. Yeah.
All that. And it's, you know, so that was hard. But I had a close friend who that whole time and she kept telling me where to go to church, and, you know, and I was like, whatever, I don't need church. And so for about 2 years, she did a daily Bible study with me where we went through the whole New Testament. Like every day we'd read a chapter and then email back and forth our thoughts on it. And it was awesome to have that support. So then as all of this is going on, my husband and I we're partners in a company, and we had other partners too. And it got really bad. Like really, it was a very toxic relationship. So we were like, okay, what do we need to do? So we were both going to leave, but leave separately because, you know, that's 2 incomes that are going to change.
Yeah.
So the timing of it. So he left. He always wanted to be a truck driver. I'm like, go be a truck driver. And I can say now, you know, 6 years later, I've never seen him happier.
Wow, so that's great, man. I love the truck drivers. They're a different breed for sure, right?
Oh my gosh, definitely. And it's awesome, you know, and he's happy, and so I'm happy, you know. So when I was getting ready to leave, we found out our son, we just had one child. It was like like you could see God's hand on it, but he has a condition called pectus excavatum. So it's basically sunken chest. We were always told that it was cosmetic, like don't do anything about it, don't worry about it, he's fine. And then a fluke, we saw a different doctor, and I think she's a nurse practitioner, and she was like, you need to have him checked out. And I was like, okay, whatever. He's, you know, like, who are you? Like, his doctor says he's fine. But in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, I don't want him to get, you know, I want him to be okay. So we went and we met with a cardiologist. I think it was cardiologist first. And the doctor just was like, okay, this is serious. We need to, you know, get him checked out and possibly do surgery. And all of this, and it was like I had just given my notice I was going to leave. So now I'm like, I need health insurance. I need to make sure my baby's okay. And he was 12 at the time. So, and thank goodness, you know, like I said, we're by Cleveland. So we've got one of the top hospitals in the world. And we were not with that hospital system at the time, but we ended up, you know, seeing 2 different surgeons, and he had surgery there. But, you know, the whole story of that, every step of the way, you could see God's hand just guiding it, you know. And of course, like the day of the surgery, I'm out of my mind, you know, like you're cutting my baby, you know, and, you know, I just have goosebumps now thinking about it. But it was something that, you know, obviously we had to go through, but it was so, in the grand scheme of things, it's fixable, you know. So it wasn't, you know, like it wasn't cancer or anything like that, but it's still, traumatic to,
Yeah, open heart surgery and your kid is like stressful. Yeah, it's really, really,
yeah. So
faith trying.
Oh my goodness. And our church that we ended up joining, that we're at now, like our pastor, the day before he went in, he was over here gathered, we're all just laying hands on him, praying on him. Like we had like 7 churches praying for our son. So everything, it couldn't have gone better. And then 3 years later, because he had a actual bar installed in his chest. So 3 years later, that came out, and he's good. But it was one of those things where it made me question everything, because I trusted his pediatrician, and his pediatrician was one of the top ones in the area. That, like, we have many friends that go there, and it just made me question everything. Like, I was so angry, like, and my son's surgeon, God bless him, he's like, it's okay. Even if we knew ahead of time, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. Like, we had to wait till he gets to a certain age.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to prepare and be ready, but it's hard when it's a shocker new, like he has to go get surgery now type thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We found out like mid-April, and we got surgery approved in July. So it was really quick. And in the meantime, we had all of these appointments to make sure he was okay. Like it was just a lot of
yeah, and you have a lot of uncertainty at the same time, and your husband's doing a new career choice, and you're leaving yours, and so when everything's up in the air, you think, okay, that's when faith comes into, like, when everything's uncertain. We like certainty in life, at least
right.
I do.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was out the window. So yeah, that was a big lesson for me, that it kind of shattered my faith in doctors know more than anybody, and
Mm-hmm.
Of course I'm not like talking bad about doctors, but it was like, okay, well, I need to think on my own, and so finally I started a year before his second surgery. I started with a functional medicine clinic at the one hospital here, and I learned a lot. But a year later, I had an ulcer, and then I needed iron again. And in the meantime, I had a hysterectomy, so my iron issues should have been resolved. So it was like, okay, now what's going on? So I go through all of that, and then a year after that, I had to have gallbladder. I went in by ambulance, and my pancreas was so inflamed, and I ended up being in the hospital for a week. And they did gallbladder surgery and then bile duct surgery. And in the meantime, during all of this, I'm just gaining and gaining and gaining. So you would think that would be like, okay, maybe a wake-up call. But it still took almost a year later. And I kept thinking, I know how to count calories, I know how to track, I know how to do all that, but in the end, it doesn't work. I'm really good at losing, but I'm really, really good at gaining back.
Yeah, we're all good at gaining. It's a lot easier, and that's the thing is that, sometimes you try one thing and it's not working anymore, and you realize, oh, there's something else changed in the interim. So sometimes what happens to your body when you lose weight and gain weight and lose weight, your body does not want to let go of fat anymore, saying, okay, I got to keep some energy for when I need it. And so, and especially if food is your comfort and you're going through stressful times, what do? You turn to food, right?
Right. Yeah. So it was a couple months after my gallbladder surgery, and I was texting with a friend of mine. She's a nurse, and she lives in Texas, and I had met her, I think 2008, 2009. And she was like, hey, there's this new book. Like, I think you should read it. It might help you. And it was Ben Bickman's Why We Get Sick.
Oh, yeah.
And that, like, I'm going to get emotional. Like, that book literally changed my life. Like, whatever words he wrote in there, it worked up here.
Wow, he's going to be happy to hear this. He's one of the nicest people on earth. He's a brilliant guy, but humble and kind. And he's the type of person you want to be around. Right. So he's going to be blessed to hear this, I'm sure. He was actually on the podcast.
And that's how I found you. It was his podcast.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I was searching for a podcast with him on it. And I actually found this podcast first. And then I was like, oh, he has another podcast.
Oh, and that's funny. Because that's funny. Because most people do it the opposite. They go low carb MD. They go, oh, he does another thing talking about not low carb. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, that's cool.
So, oh my gosh. So I was just like, everyone needs to read this book. And I bought the book for my primary doctor. I was like, you need to read this. And I just, I followed the advice in the book. And in the meantime, I had still been like every couple of months checking in with my, at the functional medicine clinic, I have a health coach, a nutritionist, and then either a doctor or a nurse practitioner. So I'm checking in, and then my primary doctor, but I was on daily medications for blood pressure, for pain. In the middle of all this, before I started losing weight, I had herniated discs, so I was going in for cortisone shots. But once I started changing everything, like, of course, I had my doctor's permission, but I got off all my medications, which has been awesome. Like, you don't realize how bad you feel until you don't feel bad.
Yeah, it's hard. You don't know. And then just that thrill of stopping a medicine and stopping another medicine. That's what we love to do, rather than just keep adding to the snowball effects. Right.
Right. It's so cool. And now I'm like, okay, if I'm not feeling well, now I know enough to look back and say, okay, what did I do? What did I eat? What did I drink that, wasn't the best choice for me?
Yeah.
So, since then, it's been, I don't even know, probably like 14 or 15 months. I'm down 88 pounds.
Wow. That's amazing.
So I feel like a brand new person. Like, I feel better than I have since before I had our son, like I have more energy. I don't, my son says I'm not as crabby. I don't yell as much.
That happens. I mean, when you even out those hormones, I mean, Dr. Bickman does a great job of explaining in his book, and he's a science guy. So a lot of people, it's really hard for them if they don't have a science background. It's really overwhelming for them to understand insulin resistance and what he's talking about. But his causally related, all the diseases that are associated or causally associated with high insulin levels. So when you grasp it and you go, okay, I got to bring that down. And so you had to be your own advocate because you weren't going to get it probably outside of finding Dr. Bickman. So that's great.
Yeah. And like you said earlier too, we'll just sing his praises for another moment. He is so nice. Like I was like, everyone needs to read this book. So I had sent him a message and like, hey, I'm getting like a little book club together. Like, we want to discuss your book. Do you have any like book club questions? Which seems odd for that type of book.
Yeah.
But it took him, a couple of days, and he wrote back and he gave me some really good questions. And so that was really cool. And then I got to share that with other people. And from that, and we met at our church. We have like an outdoor it's literally in the woods, little like chapel. So we were out there and we met, and then I was like, let's try to bring people together, because we all struggle. We all have struggles, whether it's health or work or marriage or money or, but we just don't talk about them. We're so afraid, like, oh my gosh, I don't want you to judge me because of my struggles. But if you open up and tell people, and it's not telling everybody every struggle, but if you get your couple trusted people and talk about your struggles, and then pray for each other, like, it makes all the difference in the world. Like, that weight off your shoulders, like, it's just like, I'm not in this alone. I can text someone I know I've got a couple of friends I could text at any point, and I know they'd be on the phone. Like, they wouldn't even text back.
Having community support, especially when you're trying to change your weight, you're trying to get a healthier lifestyle, or just like you said, marital stuff, problems. And I think so many people are on their own island. especially men, because we feel like we have to be independent and strong and pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and all that stuff. And, if you confide in someone, it's weakness, but I'll tell you, it's so important to have accountability and someone who says, hey, you're off track here. And also just support when you say, look, I'm having a rough week and I'm blowing it. And then people can come up beside you and help you,
Yeah, that connection, it's huge. So, yeah, we, couple weeks ago, we started a small group at church, and we've been meeting once a week. And so our guidebook is Dr. Bickman's book. And then there's no assigned reading. It's just like, have this in the back of your mind. And then like, we're just talking through, our victories, our struggles, our lives. And, it's not the same, like the core group is the same, but, people can come and go as they please. And we've got a little Facebook group, and, just kind of trying to uplift each other and just give each other hope. And, it's, even when my dad died, it was like trying to find, okay, well, he died in a car accident, but he didn't die doing this, or he didn't, like it was just him. He didn't, like no one else was hurt, he didn't have our son in the car, So it's like, as bad as the situation is, there's still always, there's always a bright spot. And like, my dad always used to say, like, you've got people better off than you and people worse off than you. Like, you can find the negative or you can find the positive, and so it's just been such a journey, and I can't imagine not having my faith going through all that with my dad. I mean, there is definitely days of doubt, but I know we're all going to go at some point, and
yeah, it's never a good time. It's never like, oh, that was an optimal time to die.
Right.
I mean, it's hard when you're going through struggles and you wonder, or that's been kind of the topic of the day, talking to other people when you go through the struggles, where's God? And sometimes you realize he was carrying you during that time.
Right. And you don't even, you're not even clear-headed enough to realize that until you take a step back and look, and then you're like, okay. And this past, well, it was January 2nd, my father-in-law passed away, and he was diagnosed with prostate cancer at age 49. And he found out by just a fluke. Like he wasn't even supposed to be screened yet. And he found out, and they said, maybe 5 years. Wow. And if you'd know him, you'd understand the personality. He was kind of like, whatever, cancer, like, you're not in charge of me. And he made it 25 years.
Wow.
And it's, devastating, and my husband's an only child and his mom's an only child. So right now on my husband's side, we just have 2 other family members. So we're small, and it's a tight family. And so losing my father-in-law was devastating, but I'm so grateful that, I was able to find low carb a couple months before any of this happened, so that I was able to be a support for my family, because at least I was able to think clearly and not crumble when my husband needed me and when my mother-in-law needed me.
Yeah, not to be like your son was saying on edge or grumpy and all that kind of stuff. It's hard when you got the hormones going on, you got the sugars through the roof and high insulin levels. All those things affect us for sure, and how we deal with life's traumas too. Faith is critical, but also being physically healthy, it makes a difference.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. And like all of, and I barely like scratch the surface with my health stuff, but all like looking back, like, and I don't want to say it the wrong way, but my nutrition was never brought up, other than eat less, move more,
Yeah, that's pretty standard. That's standard medicine these days. Like, just exercise more and eat less and you'll lose weight. And there's this equation, but it doesn't really work when you're going through life stress and when you're going through a lot of other stuff. And, counting calories, counting stuff, it's hard. And, but and you overcame a lot with exercise, but then you realize, okay, when that falls apart, then it all comes back again, unless you have something that's sustainable, right?
Right. And, it's cool now because, if I want to, and I don't always want to, but, I can fast longer. And, I've done a couple of, 72-hour fasts, and I try not to do those too much anymore. But, I know if I've got something going on, if I don't eat, like, I know I'll be okay. And,
exactly. Yeah.
So that's, that mentally even just makes me feel stronger. And, right now, like, our weather this past week has been absolutely perfect. So it's like, I'm going out for a walk, or like, it's running for me, but everyone else would probably say it's a walk, but, going out and just enjoying this beautiful weather. And, my son and I were always like, if we see a sunrise or a sunset, we're always like texting each other or getting each other from, like, come look at this, because it's, God didn't have to give us all this beauty and creation, but he did, for our enjoyment. And half the time we're too busy to even take a look at it,
Yeah, so many times we miss it. Yeah, we miss it.
And it's magnificent. Like, it's just so beautiful, and it's just take the time to appreciate it, and, just bring things back. And, most of the time when I'm walking or running, I'm listening to one of the podcasts. But, this week it's been so beautiful, and I'm like, it's not going to be for much longer. Our seasons are coming. And so the last couple of days I've just been like, just quiet and just listening to nature, and like different hymns are going through my head. And I play handbells at church. So where last night we started learning again for the beauty of the earth. So like, that song is just in my head. And the first time he handed out the music, I was like, oh my gosh, that's my funeral song. Like, I went to, and he's just like, okay, Jen, whatever. But, it's just like,
yeah, when you connect with something and it means something to you.
Yeah. It's just, God is so good to us. And of course there's horrible things that happen, but at the end of the day, he still loves us and cares about us. And even if I'm dealing, which isn't always easy in the moment, but like, if I'm dealing with someone who's not, who I'm not getting along with or whatnot, it's like, they're still made in God's image. So there's got to be some good somewhere,
Yeah, I'm trying to find grace or some bonding point, or, it's hard. Some people make it a little bit challenging, for sure.
Yeah. And it's, it's everyone's different. Everyone's, dispositions are different, but, I was listening to, I think it was Chris Cornell's podcast, and he was saying like, they, have people in their store that were so negative, and, just what can you do to like turn them around and that kind of thing. And I've tried to do that with people. And I remember I was in a job interview a couple years back, and this man would not smile at me. He was just so like stern. And I was like, whatever, I don't care if I get this job or not. I'm going to see how many times I can get him to smile. So then like my whole, mind frame, my mindset changed, and it worked. And, but I was just like, why be so miserable? Like, just.
It's so funny you say that. I have a patient. He's always kind of a miserable, older, little bit, not cantankerous, but he's just kind of the Eeyore type, like always down. And yesterday he was laughing. We had so much fun. He's changed his diet and he's exercising more, but I was like, wow, I had joy. Like, I go, this is the first time I really had joy talking to you, really, because he was laughing and joking. He had hope again. Because he was sick. He had some health problems. And I think sometimes you just go through this stuff where you think like nothing's ever going to get better. A lot of people right now are feeling that way, but to see him smiling and laughing, I was like, wow, this is really cool. I really enjoyed, like, we had a really genuinely good time. And so it's nice to see that sometimes when they get their chemistry right, maybe, or just get some more hope, or just say, go out and start playing pickleball or doing something different than just watching TV, going to sleep. Like that was his life, basically watching TV, taking a nap, going to sleep, and doing the same thing, eating, and that was his life. And now he's starting to engage with people and do stuff. And so I think sometimes it's like we could bring on that negativity too, and sometimes just trying to make someone smile. So a lot of times, like you're saying, it's funny. Like I'll be out for a walk, or I see someone who looks really grumpy, and I'll smile at them, and they have the nicest smile back, right? And you're like, wow, I didn't think they were going to smile. I'm like surprised, like, wow, they smiled. I didn't think they were going to. And you go, oh, okay, cool. That was a good one. So, and sometimes they don't smile. You go, I wonder what's going on with that person right now. And not being upset, but just like, I wonder what's going on that they're so bad that they can't return a smile.
Right. We, there's a grocery store that we go to that you have to put the quarter in for the cart. So I drive my husband and son nuts because every time I'm like, leave the quarter. And they're like, why? I'm like, if it costs a quarter to make someone smile, like,
yeah, they'll be happy to see it when they want. Yeah.
Like it's silly, but I'm like, okay, whatever. Like I always have a ton of quarters and but people are like, oh my gosh, like, especially, the past year and a half, people are like afraid to look at each other. And I'm like, just take your heart, like, you'll be fine. It's, like sanitize it if you want, but just, it's okay. Just be happy.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And on your journey, losing 88 pounds, that's a huge difference. And that takes a lot of perseverance. So what would you tell someone who's starting the journey now and they're looking in the mirror saying, oh my gosh, I have like 200 pounds to lose. And, how would you say to start or, to stay motivated? What did you do to stay on track?
I think, well, my mindset then and now is a little bit different, but don't focus on the numbers. If you really think about it and understand why you're eating what you're eating, or what the food you're eating is going to do to you, what effect that has on your body, that's going to make a bigger change. And over time, you're going to see the drop in size, or, but if you are following a traditional food plan that they're telling you to eat this, eat that, but you don't understand what it's doing for you, then I think, you have to you have to be your own advocate. If I eat, I spent years avoiding red meat, because, I was going to have all this heart issues. Well, I had, anemia where I needed iron transfusions all the time. Now, guess what? My iron's perfect. I'm able, over the summer, and I've done it once since then, I finally, at age 46, have been healthy enough to donate blood. So it's, like, it's a little thing, but to me that tells me I'm on the right path. But I think if you have a support group and understand why you're eating what you're eating, and like my indoor exercise, I have one of the like, people make fun of me, but I don't care. I have one of those little like Tony little gazelle things. And when I had one for years that, was basically a clothes hanger. And then, when I finally started using it, I could do like 2 or 3 minutes and it kicked my butt. Like, it was hard. And now I can, like I'll go downstairs and go on it and watch my Hallmark movie, and, and I can go for quite a while. And, just, if you've got a friend that you can talk to, or anything like that, that's going to help, just that support. And just knowing you're not alone, and everyone has a struggle, and whether I say it or not, like, I'm struggling with something, like I want to say life is perfect, and it's perfect in its own way, because even all the horrible lessons teach you something, all the horrible times, hopefully you're growing from that. And, like losing my dad, that makes me appreciate, or hopefully appreciate, everybody more. And you don't know, you don't know when someone's going to show up at your door and, give you the most devastating news. So it's like, take the time, and, if you can get out in nature, get out in nature. I know it's not possible all year long, but just, God made all of that for us. He could have given us 3 different colors. He gave us millions of colors, millions of shades. Like, go out and enjoy it. All the birds, all the wildlife. Just don't overthink.
Yeah, and move and breathe and say, okay, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to, walk a little bit farther than yesterday. And I think part of it is just accepting yourself and loving yourself where you're at and say, okay, I'm going to make myself better tomorrow, but I'm not going to worry about what happened yesterday. So a lot of people are just living on the mistakes of yesterday rather than saying, how can I turn this into something positive? How can I, like someone like you who lost 88 pounds, you go, okay, I can help people that are way back behind me, and to get started. Because to hear 88 pounds is so overwhelming to people. Like it's unimaginable for most people.
I can see that, but it really, I've lost weight before in the past, and I can specifically remember crying to my husband, how come I have to eat grilled chicken breast and broccoli and
they're all having pizza and spaghetti. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. And now it's just like, finding the foods that work for me and my body. I enjoy eating, and, sometimes like I'll have a pound of beef and a pound of bacon and I'm good for the day, but people are like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, but look at me, like, I feel good. Like all my blood work's good. I still have a ways to go, but now my attitude is, for my next, 30, 40 pounds, whatever that may be, like, I don't even know what my goal is because I feel so good right now.
Yeah.
I want to keep going to a point, but it's just like, if it takes me a year or 2 years, I don't care.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing, being patient and just saying, okay, one step at a time, enjoy the process. Don't say, I'm only gonna be happy with 20 more pounds. Just say, okay, I'm going to see what I can because I'm better now than I was 3 weeks ago, and just kind of keep going, moving forward. That's what the people I see are successful. That's what they do. They just go, okay, one step at a time. I'm not going to worry about next month. I'm going to worry about now. And, obviously the challenging times come up with the holidays and everything coming up. That's always a challenging time for people. But if you can maintain during the holidays, you're winning, because a lot of people are gaining 20 or 30 pounds in the same time that you're losing the weights, because it just happens during that time of year.
Right. And, with all of this going on, in the world, people are staying in, and, I was really scared at the beginning, but then it's like, well, what can I do to help myself? Is there anything I can do to make myself, whether I get cancer or whatever, what can I do to make myself in a better position to fight off anything that comes this way? And it's been good, and it's worked for me. I'm not perfect, but I'm still trying, and I still have that hope and that excitement. I mean, I usually get up about 3:45 every morning, which is,
I mean, do you actually run the dairy stuff? I mean, do you go out and feed the cows and do stuff?
Oh no, okay. So we have chickens.
Oh yeah, chickens. Okay.
Yeah, I used to have over 100. Now we have 5. Our oldest is 11 years old.
How
And like,
long I don't know chickens. How long do chickens last? Like,
most people don't let them live this long.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay.
But they're my babies. Like my church friends were all farmers used to make fun of me and tell me I have a chicken retirement home. But so like we buy all the feed and have everything for these chickens that don't lay eggs. But yeah, but my husband's a truck driver and he gets up early. So I get up early. It's just easier. And then I do my devotions. Like I've got a little devotional book, and then, read my Bible, and then go exercise, and then get to work. But, even I think it was about a year ago, I told my pastor, and I was like, hey, did you know if you read your Bible every day, like you tend to be calmer, like, and he was just like, oh, like, duh.
And maybe even a little nicer too. And when I do my devos in the morning, I didn't do them this morning because I was like crazy, but I will after we're done. But it's like, sometimes you get these words and you go, wow, that's really profound right now for me. Like, so many times that you go, wow, this is speaking to me. Do they write this for me? Like, I remember at one point in my life, I think every day I was like, wow, this is like ridiculous. I'm set up here because I'm reading this stuff and it's exactly what I'm going through. You know,
it's amazing. It's the coolest thing ever. And, you know, that's the one thing, you know, I wish I would have done sooner. You know, I always had Bibles. You know, there's Bibles, you know, every room of the house, you know, but how often do you pick them up?
Yeah, it's like the gazelle that's sitting there as a coat hanger rather
right?
than, yeah, right. We have this stuff, but we don't tie into it and go, it's not working for me. Well, you're not using it. It'll work better, the gazelle, when you get on it. Right.
Right. And it's like, just open your Bible, and pretty much anywhere you pick, you're going to find something, some nugget of wisdom. And, you know, just, you know, and this morning it, you know, just love one another. Just, you know, how you can't go wrong. You know, it's way easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah, that's the hard part. That's the hard part. Yeah, loving people, it can be challenging. Yeah, everyone knows that, who has a family or a friend. Yeah. So for you, like looking at your life, like what are big lessons you've learned along the way, or things that you say, yeah, this is really like something that stuck with you, or something that you kind of is something you lean on when you're going through hard times and, you know, don't want to keep going or whatever?
Just praying, like, help me, Jesus. Just knowing even if I feel like I'm alone or I'm really, really struggling, that I was created for a reason. I might not know what that reason is, but there's purpose for my life. And just knowing that, you know, especially if I'm struggling, there's going to be a lesson that comes out of that. And I'm not a patient type of person. I'm type A, you know, and just knowing, just mellow out, you know, and the support group, you know, and
I think, and you help others too. I think you're a person who wants to help others. Like, look, it's helping me. I want to help you guys. I want to, here's a book that, you know, Dr. Bickman spent his time writing, and he's so happy to hear that it's helping other people. And, you know, I mean, all that, just saying, okay, I'm experiencing something good in life, but I want to share it with you and see if this can help you too. Maybe it won't, but hopefully it does.
Hopefully it does. And yeah, I can't even tell you, I've literally bought at least 20 copies of that book. Like, it's like candy, you know, like I'm not passing out candy anymore or anything.
Yeah.
You know,
that's awesome. And when you find something that's helping people, and yeah, that's so cool.
It's, you know, and just real quick about candy. So 25 years ago or so, I went to culinary school, and, you know, I always had an interest in baking and candy making. So for years and years, I've had side business where I'm selling chocolates and doing cakes, and it's just crazy. Like, you know, it all ties in together, but now I just can't even imagine, you know, and I'm like, and people are like, what about, you know, are you making chocolates? I'm like, no, like, and I'm not trying to put myself on the same level, but, you know, like Paul's conversion, you know, like I'm, you know, going after all the Christians. Now I love you. And, you know, and I was pushing all the sugar before, and now I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know, don't eat any of the chocolate.
Yeah, let's do it a healthier way. We could do a better way. Yeah, totally. So you start changing what you're doing. That's cool too. And it's hard because that's your identity too. And so many times you say, okay, I'm the baker. I'm the one who can make the best chocolate. Then you go, oh, I'm not doing that anymore. You lose the desire and the drive. And I think God uses us that way a lot of times. Things that we think are so important. I know a lot of things that I thought were really important in life. I say, well, I'm better without it.
Right.
Like, you know, some sports I don't watch anymore that I used to like be a fanatic about. I was like, you know, I just don't get the joy out of it anymore. And I just want to see guys come together as a team. And so sometimes when things start to be more political, you say, well, I'm not getting benefit. And that's why sometimes Twitter can be like that. If you're associated with the wrong people, you can see the negativity. So that's why I wanted to have you on, because I appreciate your positivity. And, you know, Ty, and there's so many good people out there that you say, gosh, every day they're uplifting, they're putting good stuff, and they're, you know, uplifting other people and being kind. And that's what we need more of. I think, you know, our society has gone so much toward that negativity. And, you know, like people lose 80 or 90 pounds and people say, well, look at that loose skin. It's like, well, that person just accomplished great stuff. And you're focusing on the one negative thing, right? The one thing that's like, how about saying, gosh, great job. I'm so happy for you.
Right. And it's a badge of honor, all the loose skin. And
Yeah, exactly. Right. You go,
go
hey, yeah,
now.
I earned this. Yeah, I earned this. And that's it. And that's how you can look at life. I mean, some of our scars are a badge of honor that we've went through these things and, not wanting to show anyone and hide them all the time. It's like, I mean, we have to come with our flaws, just like Jesus calls us to do. It's like, hey, no one's perfect. None of us are perfect on the journey. And I think most of us who get it understand that we don't try to make it look like, hey, yeah, I never have any troubles in life and everything's going smooth. But where do you lean in times of trouble? And I think that's, or going through hard stuff, or when you have to, get your life back in order and being able to flip the switch from, eating whatever you want to saying, okay, I got to be more disciplined in my approach. So in the final analysis for you, what's life's best medicine?
To lean on your faith and lean on your family and your friends, and, lean on them and let them lean on you, just show love. There's so much craziness going on right now. And even with all of that, there's still crazy in the world and just devastation, but there's always room for love. Like, just, like you always say, like, be good to each other,
Yeah, I think just be nice to each other, be nice to other people, and you'll be surprised at people you may not even like. There's people on Twitter that I used to not like, and now I'm like, they agree with me on this. Like, we totally are 100%. And it's funny to me. Some people that nutritionally we totally disagree was like, hey, ethics, I 100% agree with you. I mean, so we have to look for that common ground. I think a lot of times people are looking for what separates us rather than what unites us. And I think those of us who kind of get it say, like, let's not separate everyone, because we could all not like someone because of something, because you think blue's the best color and I think black's the best color, whatever. I think so many people are looking to divide or looking to be offended or looking for you not give you the benefit of the doubt. So you probably didn't mean it that way when you said that, but poor choice of words. Yeah, I blew it. I'm known for doing that every now and again. So, I think it's one of those things of having grace for each other. And, and I think the whole cancel, like they said something wrong, cancel everything they've ever done that's good, get rid of it all. It's like, well, we've all done dumb stuff and said dumb stuff. So I think when you have grace for each other, you start realizing, yeah, I've said dumb stuff before, but when it's a recurrent theme, then you say, okay, that person they're not good for the society that they're in, that kind of thing. So I hate to block people on Twitter, but every now and again I say, this person is just mean all the time. It's like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with meanness. Every time I say something nice and you hate Christians, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Don't pick on me all the time, because you're being mean and you're saying that we're mean. I don't get it. I don't get your point. You're making my point more than yours. So anyways, I think it's so great to have you on. I'm glad we got to connect like this, and you had the courage to come on, because I know it's kind of intimidating sometimes to come on to a podcast. Now you realize, oh, this little thing, this is easy. This just we're all into Zoom meetings now. It's easy.
Right. Oh my gosh. Like, yeah, it's I was nervous, overwhelmed, but honored. Like, I've learned so much from you and so much from your guests, and I can't imagine what my life would be like if I hadn't found you guys. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so great to have you on, and I appreciate that. And we try. That's why we do it. Tro and I were just bugging each other on Low Carb MD, because that podcast, we have almost 5 million downloads.
Wow.
But we've never taken a sponsor over there. So he's like, hey, you owe me this much money. I'm like, really? Come on, man. So anyways, but we do have some Patreon supporters helping us and all that stuff. And with here, Simply Snacking and my Patreon supporters are greatly appreciate to get your stories out. And, I think it's so important that we need to hear these stories. We need to hear positivity. We can't just dwell on the negative. It has to be good. And these stories I'm hearing are life-changing, like your story and other people's stories. I love it, because no one's going to know you from Ohio. How are they going to know? Right. Unless your neighbors know you, and people do. But I think someone else who's in, Chicago maybe hears your story and go, yeah, maybe I'll do a Bible study. Maybe I'll help my community somehow. And maybe I'm doing pretty good on this journey. And maybe there's hope for me. I can do it,
And there's not, I don't want to, I mean, I'm special in my own way, but there's nothing like special about me. Like, I don't have superpowers or anything, it's just, just deciding to make a change and doing the best I can with it,
Yeah. So, I think that's some of life's best medicine. Yeah.
Can I do a little plug for Simply Snacking?
Oh yeah, absolutely. She would love that. Sue's the best.
Oh my gosh. So the only thing I knew about them was that they're a sponsor of yours. And I love that Low Carb MD does not have a sponsor for so many reasons, but how she sponsors yours. So I like fresh meat. Like, I don't like packaged meat. But I was like, well, I'll give it a try. So to start, and this is, I'm always go big or go home. So I bought a 150 piece sample kit or assorted kit. Oh my gosh, everyone loves it. Like at our little gatherings on Monday nights, I'm taking it in there. Like, it's awesome. And I'm glad I started with 150 pieces, because I certainly do not have that, at all anymore, but it's delicious. And I love that she's supporting you, and like the, I can't think of the name now, but Doug Ronald's,
Low Carb USA.
Yeah. That's awesome that, she's a small business, and, this is where she's putting her support. So I think that's awesome. So
man, I love this, man. I wish I would have set this up. This is so good. Yeah. Because, that's true. I mean, just being real, like, again, talking about Ben Bickman, I was trying to help some people out in an underserved area. He goes, what do you need, Brian? I'll send it into them. And, not what do I get out of it? So I think there's a lot of people like that where they're just good people, and being associated with them. And, I try not to be too controversial, because poor Sue's stuck with me, sponsoring me. But, the point is, like, look, I think we have a responsibility to kind of speak the truth and do what we can to make the world better. And I would not have her as a sponsor if I didn't believe in the product and her. I just won't sell out that way. So I think it's really important that we're like-minded. And this is something I believe in. Like, I wouldn't just take a sponsor to pay the bills, because I could do that on my own. But, it's nice to know that you're supported and people care about getting these stories out, and says, look, I couldn't do it on my own. I'd be doing one a month or something. Right. But, she allows me to do it one a week. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is great.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I love this. And I love spending time with people like you, and getting to hear what's happening, and, and supporting businesses like her, because you want people like that. We all float together. And so you want her to be successful. And, Chris Cornell, you mentioned him. He's been a great supporter of the podcast, and so many things like that. For me, stepping off into this little podcast from the big podcast, I was like, well, this is kind of a big change, but I love it. This has been my passion, because I love hearing stories. I love people, and I always have, and I love your story. And, just knowing, hey, something you can say is going to reach someone. And so many times, Tro and I have had someone on the podcast, and they don't know anything that we said, but they say, remember this guy said this time? That changed my life. Like that one guy who used to be 600 pounds. Now he's like healthy again. Or someone who said, look, I was giving up. And so that's what this podcast is about. It's not just about the nutrition. It's about how do you deal with life, because this is what we're talking about. It's not just, we're not in a bubble. We say, okay, just eat less and exercise more. Well, what happens when your dad dies? What happens when you go through struggles and you lose your job and your husband's changing his career and you're going through chaotic stuff? Like, what do you turn to then? And I think faith is probably a better substitute than processed foods and, fried chicken and whatever, so because, we all, even in the church, we drown our sorrows that way, or we celebrate that way. And so sometimes you say, well, maybe we'll just change how we do things a little bit, and maybe I'll be healthier and maybe make more of an impact. So it's been an honor having you on. I appreciate you coming, and your positivity, continue to do that, and I think you'll get some more supporters. And I know you're on Twitter. Do you want to give people your Twitter handle, or any other way to get in touch with you if anyone wants to ask you what you're doing with your Bible studies and all that?
Yeah, I should know my Twitter handle, but I don't. I think it's like former carb lover or something like that. So,
no, I just see Jen Martin. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I don't know, but I mean,
we'll put a link to it. Everyone who wants to know,
cool,
we'll put a link to it, because I know people ask me mine. I'm like, I think it's this. I'm not sure. So yeah, so good. So we could do that, and they could track you down and be friends with you and all that kind of stuff, and see your positivity. And then, obviously in your area, doing your what you're doing and growing the community and support and all that's really awesome. So thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You have an awesome day.
You too. And everyone, thanks for listening. Take some notes from Jen, and be kind to yourself, be kind to others, look for opportunities just to reach out to your community. If it's a small group or reading to kids, whatever it is, just do something positive. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening to this episode. We greatly appreciate your support. We would greatly appreciate a positive thumbs up on all of the platforms like iTunes and Spotify, or wherever you're listening. And we just thank you for our Patreon supporters. We greatly appreciate your help in getting this message out. We think there's a lot of important information, and hopefully this helps you. Have a great day, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.